A note on Rebecca. This is one of the best films you can see, included on the list of best films ever made by various scholars, critics. Uh, Laurence Olivier, of course, wonderful as Max the Winter. Joan Fontaine is Mrs. de Winter. There's Rebecca, the woman in the title. She is the former late Mrs. de Winter, sort of a ghost we never see, but spectrum haunting the place and terrifying Joan Fontaine, aka the present Mrs. Sanders. A fabulous film based on Daphne du Maurier, the masterpiece, chef d'oeuvre, which is itself included on the Modern Library list of best 100 novels written in the past century in English. And at the beginning, we see Max de Winter as an apparently suffering widower. He meets with this young girl who is not exactly a servant, but she is an assistant of an older woman who is somewhat obnoxious. He becomes in love with her, and he marries and takes her to Manderley, to his sumptuous, lavish mansion. But here, Tamina, instead of instead of happiness, stumbling upon happiness, we have in fact the message somehow in the book written by a Harvard scholar, Harvard professor Daniel Gilbert, in which he deals with misconceptions about happiness. The idea that we expect happiness when our favorite team will win the championship, only it's a good thing for a few hours or a day maybe, but then hedonic adaptation, we adapt to it. We expect when there's a new car, but then again we adapt to it soon, and things in general and situations is the prejudice that, well, if I would live in California, it would be, or a Pacific Island. Both cases have been tested, and turns out it's not. To end this, because there's much more, and I recommend the book if you're interested. Wonderful. How we see happiness, what happens in real life, and wonderful examples, and funny often. And here, it's this idea that we have this Mrs. de Winter marrying this handsome man, rich, intelligent, pleasant, sophisticated gentleman, and then it's stumbling upon happiness with all the conditions for happiness, supposedly, apparently, and she's actually mortified, terrified. She's unhappy as can be. Why? I mentioned Rebecca, that's a woman haunting, and it seems she was so extraordinarily resplendent, knowing what to do, what the dresses to wear, how to not just impress by guests, but to be a social star. And she's so overwhelming that this woman cannot even breathe in her presence. And there's a moment when there's also this servant, an evil woman, who is priming her, and it seems that she might even jump from the upper floor and die, commit suicide, because she's so crushed by the personality of the late wife, and the feeling, but here she's so wrong, that in fact Max de Winter cannot but still love the memory of Rebecca, and she's just as a as a pawn, as a element of decoration, and she will not be able to face this. She cannot. She doesn't know what to do with this. She's breaking a precious item, but for the rich man, it's nothing. It's like I take this leaf here, and in panic she hides it, and she makes it worse because there's the servant who's terrible, terrifying, and then there's a shipwreck, and they find the boat on which Rebecca died, and this changes the whole story. And I think I should stop here to avoid any spoilers. But I will only add that this is changing the whole perspective entirely.